Lev, you and I were speaking, and you find this resources sale to be particularly charged, I guess, historically speaking, because of certain anti-Semitic tropes. We have some of the screenshots that you sent us, but can you elaborate on the anti-Semitic history of this?
The anti-Semitic history is that there is a very terrible blood libel, a very terrible accusation that in 1932, 1933, when Ukraine had this horrific famine where millions of people died, it was a man-made famine engineered by Stalin. People still decide today whether it's a genocide or not. I believe it was a genocide. I believe Stalin didn't particularly care whether they died or not. And I think that, like, if you're going to do that, knowing millions of people are going to die, you know, but regardless of what it was a horrific crime.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a horrific crime. It was a horrific crime in which millions of people died in this. They had to add cannibalism to the criminal statutes of the Soviet Union because people routinely ate other people. People ate their children. It was literally, it was like a modest proposal. So there is a very horrific blood libel against Jews, saying that this was because the Jews are the ones who orchestrated it. Okay, even though it was done by Stalin, who was a Georgian, and even though a whole bunch of Jews died and starved. I mean, my grandmother was born in Kharkiv when this is, and you could go outside, you could see people were just dead bodies were on the street every morning. So even though tons of Jews died, it's this disgusting lie, and that lie was used as justification for their participation in the Holocaust. The Jews killed us. It was, 10 years later, it was payback.
Right.
You still see that all the time. That
all
argument
the
used all the time.
All the time. All the time.
And nationalists. Yeah.
This is a real argument. Okay. Even like I've had that argument applied to like a couple of my colleagues who wrote about Ukraine. And like, there's a Canadian professor who basically wrote and said, well, this person is basically doing this because they feel guilty for killing Jews. The person who was saying this, it wasn't even me. It was an American. It was an American Jew who's never set foot in Ukraine. But anyway, I mean, it's a very anti-Semitic thing, and the land is so big for Ukraine. And I'm sorry, I'm going to stop in about 2 seconds. But you look at the months. Just look at the months of the year. Okay, if you look at the months in Russian, it's basically the same as in English. October, Noyabr, December. I mean, it's January, Yanvar.
I noticed the Ukrainian words for the months are totally different. They have no relation to Russian or English.
Yeah, but you know what they have a relationship to? The cycles of agriculture. Okay, August is literally scything time because that's when the people would harvest. The name of the month, like flower time. November is literally leaf fall. It's such a deep connection to the land, and this deep notion that their land is being taken away from them, and the notion that the Jew is selling it. It's just such a disgusting thing that Trump and the Blob are pushing Zelensky to do. And I am not a fan of Zelensky, but it is just disgusting to put him in. Like, he might as well go to the White House, maniacally grinning, and leave with a bag that has dollar signs on it. Like, that's how bad it is. It's a really dangerous thing, and it's a really offensive thing.
You sent me an image of a leaflet that was brought to there was a Holocaust monument that was vandalized.
Yeah, there was a Holocaust monument. This was like 8-9 years ago. Something, it was vandalized. This was left there. So this is a German. If you can zoom in, this is actually take on a German Nazi propaganda poster. That Jew with a gun, and it says, "Remember who killed your people." On the bottom, and then on the top it says Holodomor, the famine, 32 to 33, and it has the Star of David and the hammer and sickle. Right. Yeah, with a typical evil Jew hovering over piles of bodies. So remember who killed your people. And this was left at a vandalized Holocaust Memorial where they threw either like fake blood or paint. You could see it's all over the You could see little drabs of it. And there's one other one that's even particularly more
we have that
disturbing. Ukrainian nationalists, and a lot of them, the ones who are in charge of the National Memory Institute and other different branches. So a lot of times you see very crazy books just by people with PhDs. And what they do is they take a lot of them. What they do is they take the people who ran Ukraine at the time during the famine, and they culled the names until the only ones that were left are Jewish names or Jewish sounding names. Okay. So what they did is they edited it out to making it look like the only people who ran Ukraine were Jews. So that, hence the only people who were responsible for this were Jews.
But this is a government body that has very deep links with the West as well, right? So this is not like some guy printing something off in his basement or some troll. This is the government body in charge.
This was shared. This was shared by a government body. I think it was the National Institute, but it could have been another one, but I think it was. And if you zoom in, the people who created Holodomor, okay, and if you look closely between them, in between them is Stars of David.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And all the names are Jewish names.
I like how they make sure that Trotsky's name, in case you weren't sure that he's Jewish, they put in Bronstein as well.
Right.
You know, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, just to make sure.
Yeah.
Leber, not Lev. Leber.
Right.
Yeah. So this just, I mean, it's in the grand scheme of things, it's just another. I mean, just another humiliation, but it's also a dangerous one to just force Zelensky to do this, and to also, I mean, like Ireland got a country in like the 1910s, 1920s. Saudi Arabia got a country. Everybody got a country except Ukraine didn't get a country. It's a very, very painful thing.
Yeah, and what should be? I mean, let's say like we had leaders who actually cared about Ukrainian agency, right? What would they be doing? Like, what would their president be doing?
Oh, I just want to say one thing before Lev. I'm taking away Lev's Ukrainian agency.
Yeah, please do. Yeah,
cutting in.
No, please. No, I'm done. I'm done. Please.
No. I just wanted to say to that specific question. In 2019, Ukraine held an election for president, and the winner, Ukrainians themselves, and this is even after having the most pro-Russian parts cut out of the electorate, that is Crimea and Eastern Donbass. Nevertheless, they were so fed up and disgusted with the Ukrainian nationalism, with the war, with the regime that was constantly, for ethno-nationalism and all this stuff. Yeah. And of course, all the corruption and the repression that this regime, the Poroshenko, the first Maidan regime, represented, that they were so desperate for something better and else that they voted overwhelmingly, 75%, this has never happened in Ukraine, for a Jew, a Jewish comedian with zero experience in one of the most historically, I don't know what Ukraine's anti-Semitism levels are like now, but like if you looked, certainly until recently in a book for like a picture of the country with anti-Semitism issues, it's Ukraine. That's where the pogrom
I'll tell you this. Poroshenko, whom Zelensky beat, like 6 years before, Poroshenko actually had to meet with one of the rabbis of Ukraine to testify that he's not Jewish, because he was he was so afraid that it's a common mudslinging tactic to say, "Oh, you're secretly Jewish."